Hello friends, welcome to Jinesh IS Academy editorial analysis. In this editorial, we do 5 things. Firstly, we will link the editorial to the UPSC CSE mains syllabus. Secondly, we will understand the key points from the editorial. Thirdly, we will understand the key concepts from the examination point of view. Fourthly, we have modeled the MCQs as per the UPSC prelims examination. And fifthly, we have modeled mains questions as per UPSC mains syllabus. So let's begin today's editorial analysis. Today's editorial has been taken from Business Line, dated September 5. It's all about banking frauds. It covers UPSC syllabus, GS paper 3, and most point is all about banking sector and non-banking financial companies. Here are the very first thing, the key points. More than a year after Punjab National Bank admitted to the mega fraud perpetrated by the dementier Nirav Modi, the furor over corporate borrowers, gaming gaps in Indian banks' lending system appears to have died down. But data on bank fraud disclosed in the RBI's latest annual report revealed that the Nirav Modi affair was not an isolated instance of a rogue borrower making away with bank funds using letter of undertaking. Friends, here we have a very two important points to discuss. First thing, the lending pattern or lending system of our public sector banks, and second one is the letter of undertaking. What is all about it? First of all, we will discuss the two things. Now, what has happened with Punjab National Bank and how will the fraud impact the Punjab National Bank? PNB alleged that two of its employees had fraudulently issued LOUs, letter of undertaking, which we likely to discuss, and transmitted SWIFT, this system we will discuss later on, instruction to the overseas branches of Indian banks. This was done to raise buyer's credit for the firm of a diamond merchant without making entries in the bank system. The bank has alleged that one such fraudulent LOU issuance took place on January 2018, the trail of which revealed the entire design. These letter of undertakings were mostly issued to two Hong Kong branches of Indian banks and was for the aforesaid diamond merchant. Hong Kong branches of Allahabad Bank and Axis Bank have given money to the beneficiaries entity on behalf of Modi's firms. As a result, PNB will have to settle the LOUs with these branches according to the norms of the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. Market sentiment has already been impacted and PNB stock fell 9.81% in a single day, which consequently saw investors lose over rupees 3000 crore in a single day. Now, we just discussed the background of the letter of understanding. Now, we discuss this letter of understanding. We have a chart. Here we have a four things: the Indian bank, another Indian bank of foreign origin, then importer and the exporter. Underlying assets will be a business between these two things. Letter of undertaking is a form of bank guarantee under which a bank can allow its customer to raise money from another Indian bank's foreign branch in the form of a short-term credit. Point to be remember, short-term credit. It is used for overseas import remittances and involve four parties. These four parties we discussed: this Indian bank, the another Indian bank, importer and the exporter. An issuing bank, a receiving bank, an importer and a beneficiary entity overseas. According to norms, they are usually valid for 180 days. LOUs are convened from bank to bank through Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, SWIFT, which we discussed earlier. Instructions. Notably, till now there is no record of a breach in SWIFT instructions anywhere in the world. So, here we discuss what is the letter of understandings. LOU is an assurance given by one bank to another to meet a liability on behalf of its customer. One question will likely to be arise in CSE pre 2020, which just covers this topic. Which of the following is most suitable system for sending payment orders between a domestic Indian bank and an overseas bank who do not have direct account relationship with each other. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 points, and the right answer is all about 2. It means SFMS, structured financial messaging system. That is the right answer. Don't be confused with RTGS, IFSC, and the SWIFT, which we discussed, Society of Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications. Another questions for the sake of CSE Prelims 2020, which again cover the topic which we are discussing. Find correct pairs. We have 4 options. We have to correct the find one, and we saw that the right answer is C. Both 1 and 2 are correct. And the very first statement is all about letter of undertaking LOU means domestic banks guarantee for its customer to raise short term loans in foreign currency from a different bank located in a foreign country. Second B point is letter of comfort. There is a difference between letter of undertaking and letter of comfort. Domestic banks guarantee for its customer to raise short term loan in foreign currency from its subsidiary bank, that is the difference, subsidiary bank or overseas branch located in a foreign country. So, kindly be specified while reading and answering during the CSE Prelims 2020. Now, these 2 points we discussed the letter of undertaking, and somehow lending system appears in overseas market. Now, we discussed about the financial year 2019 regarding to banking frauds. Domestic banks reported frauds valued at rupees 71,543 crore, a 74% jump over the financial year 2018. Number of rupees 41,147 crore. These figures definitely impress the examiner while writing the CSE mains examination GS paper 3. Public sector banks were the main victims, accounting for over 90% of these frauds by value. Frauds relating to advances dominated in financial year 2019 as against those involving off balance sheet items in financial year 2018. Given the inordinately long time that banks take to detect and report frauds, the spike in the financial year 2019 number does not reflect recent developments, but large value frauds cropping up across different business verticals raise concern that the RBI's regulatory fixes after the Punjab National Bank scam do not address the root cause of bank fraud, which lie in governance. Point to be noted, governance is a very important point in terms of any organization, and risk management, this risk control. Lot of people doing MBAs in risk management nowadays. Lapses at the Punjab sector banks, right? It means the people who are pursuing risk management, they are in demand from PSU banks to stop their frauds. Now, details from past frauds hint at 3 problem area with banks lending practices that fraudsters have exploited. It means we have certain lacunas in our system which are utilized by the corrupt people. We have 3 lacunas, 1 and 2 and the 3. Number 1 is lending decision by bank employees at all levels, because we know there are middle management, top management, from the branch level executive to the sanction authority in top management, ignoring obvious flaws in collateral or project contours. Collateral stand for the underlying assets which they put in terms of margin contours, suggest that they may frauds are perpetrated with the active collusion of bank employees. Yes, it is the lower or middle level employees who often face the heat of fraud. Quite naturally, in many organizations, the same things happen during the governance. While banks, boards, and lending committees face little scrutiny of lax oversight, might be these kind of situation reaction test one can ask during the final interview of CSE. The fleeing tenures and poor compensation structure of top managers at PSBs actively abates negligence. This can only be fixed. First we raise the problems and then we discuss the how to fix these problems. Pay structures that directly link their compensation to bank asset quality. Second problem is all about long delays between the occurrence of a fraud and its detection. The average time taken by bank to report large frauds was 55 months. It's a too long time. Point 2, yawning gaps in banks post disbursement monitoring of funds. Here, whistleblower protection laws may help bank insiders red flag frauds at any early stage. Here we utilize one word. What is whistleblower protection law? Might be it helps to lower down the timing to detect the frauds, and this is we will just discuss the key highlights of whistleblower protection laws. Number first thing is Whistleblower Protection Act 2014. It allows any person, including a public servant, to make a public interest disclosures before a competent authority. The law does not allow anonymous complaints to be made and clearly states that no action will be taken by a competent authority if the complainant does not establish his or her identity. The maximum time period for making a complaint is 7 years. It is 7 years. It is very important. Might be one MCQ will be asked on that particular whistleblower protection features. So, be specified. This Whistleblower Protection Act 2014 has certain exemptions, and I am discussing one by one. The act is not applicable to the Special Protection Group SPG personnel and officer constituted under the Special Protection Group Act 1988. Court of Appeal, any person aggrieved by any order of the competent authority can make an appeal to the concerned High Court within a period of 60 days from the date of the order. There is a provision of penalty. Any person who negligently or malafidely reveals the identity of a complainant will be punishable with imprisonment for a term extending up to 3 years and a fine which may extend up to rupees 50,000 rupees. There has been a decline in fraud at public sector banks from 50,329 crore in 2013-14 to just 3,781 crore in the first 3 quarters of 2019-20 as per the data revealed by the Finance Ministry. So, it means this Whistleblower Protection Act has certain relevance, and it curb the frauds which are very frequent in our public sector bank and tarnish the reputation of our financial system. RBI has put in place a central fraud registry, which is a searchable database to help banks detect instances of fraud by borrowers early on. It also helps banks in carrying out due diligence during the credit sanction processes. Frauds of below 5 crore will be monitored by a regional offices of RBI, and above 5 crore will be monitored by the Central Fraud Monitoring Cell, that stands for CFMS of the Reserve Bank of India. So, before moving for this third point, we discuss the whistleblower protection laws features. It is important for CSE prelims 2020. So, kindly review this thing. Now, third point is the window dressing and misappropriation that accompany large loan frauds cannot be perpetrated without the cooperation of statutory auditors or valuers who vet projects. It is therefore critically that they are brought to book when bank fraud surfaces. Overall, rather than attempt piecemeal fixes to individual cases of fraud, the RBI needs to undertake system level intervention to improve risk management at public sector banks. The PSBs also need to step up technology related investment to effectively monitor end use of their loans. Information sharing through a common credit registry as mooted by the RBI can help. The center, if it is keen to ward off future bad loan buildups at public sector banks, need to empower the RBI to effectively supervise PSBs and to allow an independent entity like the Bank of Boards Bureau to fill key management positions. Here certain concepts which we learn or we can grab on this editorial, that are all about RBI and the master direction on frauds. Point number 1 is classification of frauds, and point number 2 is early warning signals and red flagged accounts. What is this red flagged accounts? Quite natural, it is to detect the frauds in PSUs. Now, very first thing is classification of frauds. In order to have uniformity in reporting, frauds have been classified as under, based mainly on the provisions of the Indian Penal Code. Like the very first A point is misappropriation and criminal breach of trust. B, fraudulent encashment through forged instruments, manipulation of books of account, or through fictitious accounts and conversion of property, unauthorized credit facilities extended for reward or for illegal gratification, cash shortage, cheating and forgery, fraudulent transaction involving foreign exchange, any other type of fraud not coming under the specific heads as above. Now, the early warning signals or red flag accounts. A red flag account is one where a suspicion of fraudulent activity is thrown up by the presence of one or more early warning signals, that is EWS. These signals in a loan account should immediately put the bank on alert regarding a weakness or wrongdoing which may ultimately turn out to be a fraudulent. A bank cannot afford to ignore such EWS but must instead use them as a trigger to launch a detailed investigation into a red flag accounts. Friends, Indian banks need significant improvements in operation and governance standards to work in an effective manner by constantly working on the loopholes so that the banking sector can contribute more to the growth of the economy. Thank you very much for listening.